Hi guys, it's Chris. Welcome back to my channel. Can you believe it is September already? I feel like summer went by so quickly. It's already September. It's almost school starting for a majority of us, and today I wanted to talk about something that kind of has to do with school, something that I was really nervous about, that I am so nervous about whenever school starts. Something that's just always on my mind whenever I start a new class, a new course. In high school, I'm in college now, but in high school this was something that really frightened me, and going into college I knew that this would be a thing that I would have to confront and sort of face, and that is public speaking. Whether it's presenting a project, a speech, just any setting where I have to get in front of a large group of people and speak publicly. So I'm going to be talking about my experiences with that, and how I have tried to somewhat overcome my fear and my anxiety when it comes to public speaking. This is a big subject, and everybody's like different when it comes to this, and I wanted to talk about this because this semester I'm actually taking a course in public speaking, and it's nerve-wracking. I am taking it online, so I'm not totally sure how that's going to work, but because it's on my mind and it is something that I really have struggled with in the past, and don't get me wrong, I am by no means like great at public speaking. Only recently I've become a little bit better, because I sort of think of it as me filming a video, and that calms me down slightly. I think I've always had a big fear of public speaking. As young as I could remember, I had a stuttering problem. I had gone through speech therapy. I was about to say speech therapy, it's funny, for a majority of my grammar middle school life, probably until kindergarten, until about I don't know, 4th, 5th grade. I went to speech therapy to work on my stuttering. I had a set like group of letters that make me stutter. It was always B, D, N, M. S's were always a safe letter for me. I had like safe letters and bad letters whenever I knew I had to speak publicly, whether it was a speech or a presentation or just reading a passage from the textbook, go around the classroom and talk. I would try to formulate my words so that safe syllables would only come up. I would use a lot of S's, a lot of letters that for me just fly off my tongue better than like B, D. Those had a little more like thought into them, and I would always stutter on those syllables. So I went to therapy for my speech for a while. I would also work on not saying like so many times, not saying so many times, but majority of it was you know, the stuttering, and that stopped for me, and then it came back, and now it's at this point where if I think about stuttering, I will stutter. Whenever I have to read something in front of the class, or again, it's just, okay, we're gonna go around up and down the rows and we're going to go over this test. I will count how many people are in front of me, see which number question I am, and see if I'm gonna stutter on it. W's were always good for me, like where, why, what, those were always good for me. But whenever it was a word that, you know, I knew I was going to stutter on, I would get really scared. I would try to go to the bathroom to avoid having to say it. And when formulating any presentation, any speech I had to write, I would always use like such a minimal amount of words. I like to speak with big vocabulary, big words. I like to sound intelligent when I speak in front of a crowd, and I would not sound that way for the sole purpose of not stuttering. So if I had this really nice big word I wanted to use that started with a B or a D, I would dumb it down so I wouldn't stutter on it. And that's something I still do, and it's something I really struggle with because I get so in my head and I get so nervous, and in my head I think I'm going to stutter on this word, and then I do. I conquered stuttering when I was really young, And now, again, it's sort of just in and out. If I think about it too much, I will stutter. And that's my biggest problem. I think about it too much. And I plan ahead of what I'm going to say too much. And I plan in my head me stuttering. And therefore I do stutter. And that's when I realized that it is all in my head. It was myself. I am like in the way of myself trying to pronunciate, is that the word? These words correctly, because I would be in my room, I would be reading out loud, you know, whatever book I'm reading. I would be talking to my mom, talking to myself, talking on the camera, and I would not stutter. I could say because, I could say words with D in them, I could say these words. It's just if I overthink them and I get so in my head about it, I will stutter on them. So that's when it all kind of came together, and I truly did recognize that it is all in my head. And that too, I try to transfer over to public speaking and the whole concept of overthinking something. Whenever I'm in a situation where I have to speak publicly, if I prepare too much, if I over prepare, if I think so much about what I'm going to say, I know I'm going to mess up. And then when I mess up, I think, great, my whole speech is ruined. And in the past, I have really struggled with getting past that. Getting past that initial, oh my god, I messed up, what do I do now? And going into my public speaking class this semester, that's something that I want to work on. How do you get past that initial mistake you make? So now going back into public speaking was something that I really struggled with and was frightened. In high school, that was really challenging for me. Whenever the teacher would even mention, in this course you're going to have to publicly speak, you're going to have to present a project, a PowerPoint, I just started to get so nervous, and I could not relax until it was finished. And that was just on my mind throughout the whole entire semester. When am I going to have to publicly speak? So when preparing for my speech, I like to, or whatever presentation, I like to have index cards with some notes on them. I don't, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, say don't read directly from a script or from your essay, but I think having small notes written down is a good way to speak more naturally. And when I do speak naturally, when I don't prepare so much, the speech, the video, it always comes out better. I have not prepared at all for this video, and I think it's going okay. If I had planned this out so much, then I get in my head and I make mistakes, and I just think it's all just a big fail. So going into college, I knew that public speaking was something I would have to combat, because whether we like it or not, public speaking is something we'll have to do, whether it's in school, your job, in front of colleagues. Just speaking like with your family is also nerve-wracking if you're like in a large group, at least for me it is. So my first year of college, my first semester of college, I had I was taking a success course, and that involved a lot of socialization and communicating with others. And at the end of the course, you had to make a presentation about your 10-month plan, your 10-year plan about your life. And I was really nervous for that, even though I prepared a lot. I mean, maybe that was why I was nervous, because it was just so in my head. But what made it better was the relationship I had with other people in that class. When you're nervous, when you're scared, when you're happy, when you're sad, you like other people to feel those emotions. So before, you know, going up to present, I would talk to somebody like, oh my god, I'm like so nervous, right? Then they would be like, oh my god, me too. And that sort of helped me. And once you realize that everybody in that same classroom, A, doesn't really care about what you're presenting about, and B, is in the same shoes as you are when it comes to presenting. Nobody, like, well, maybe they do, like, loves to present. Nobody loves to speak publicly. I think it's something that everybody does struggle with to a degree. So once you realize that everybody is nervous, everybody is scared, everybody is somewhat rooting for you to just do well and get through it, then it does ease some of the anxiety that you have, at least for me. Now besides that class I had, so that was the last kind of time I did have to speak publicly in college. I didn't really have too many classes in the spring that involved such practices. My fall semester I did take a Korean class. As hard as that class was and as challenging as it was, I do credit that class with giving me a lot more confidence speaking publicly, because you kind of had to speak publicly when you're taking a language course. A majority of the quizzes, the tests are oral, and every single day you would have to recite in front of the entire class like a whole paragraph in Korean. So being that it was in a foreign language to me did help me, because it was almost like I know I'm gonna mess up, and everyone was messing up, and everyone was just rooting for you and on your side and wanted you to do well. And the teacher was a little strict. She wasn't that strict, but she could be strict. So we're all just kind of scared, we're all kind of in the same boat. Let's just finish this and get it done with. And we would always try to help each other if we didn't remember a word. So I think this is kind of on the teacher's end. If the teacher could right off the bat have a welcoming environment for the students, then I think it will have a better effect on how you communicate and speak publicly in the class. In that Korean class and in the success class, there was a lot of group work, and therefore you get you know, friendships with some of the people, and then you just feel like you're talking with them when you have to speak publicly. So overall, I do think my fear of public speaking has gone down a little bit. When I started this public speaking course, we had to take a quiz how you fall on, I think it was low anxiety, medium, high, extremely high, and I wasn't even on the radar. I was really, really low, which surprised me. So I do think I've gotten better at it. I think, so just in conclusion, my best tips are don't over prepare for it, because then you're setting yourself up for failure. I think speaking naturally and letting it come to you, and of course have a few notes down when doing so, can help you. But I think speaking naturally and not having everything so planned out can really benefit you, because then your audience will get to see the real you and not just like some robotic script. And as the viewer, as you know, the audience, like, you know, you don't really want to watch somebody just reading from an essay. And I think a big thing that also helped me was to truly, you know, people say, you know, just picture them in their underwear or they're, you know, naked. But I don't want to do that. Just remember that everybody is in the same boat as you. Like I mentioned before, nobody cares really, nobody's really listening to you. And I also think being in your head so much can also do a lot of damage, just overthinking it. And for me, thinking I'm gonna stutter on these words, that will then make me stutter. And also, once you get through the past maybe minute or two of your speech or your presentation, the rest will, I think, flow better. The initial nervousness will go away. Whenever I would have to speak in like high school, I would be so nervous, my voice would shake, I would look like I'm shaking, and I would ask people at the end, like, didn't I look so nervous? And they said, no, you looked fine. So I think a lot of it is in our heads, and we do perform better than we think. And I think that's pretty good, because if you think you did well, you probably did extremely well. If you think you could have done better, you probably did okay. And it was small flaws that you may have noticed, probably nobody else did. So that concludes all I really have to say about public speaking. I feel like I could talk about this for a long time. This is like a long video, but thank you guys for watching. If you have any tips how you combat, you know, nervousness or anxiety when going into it, I think we could all just benefit from having a discussion about how to overcome it. And yeah, so please comment down below if you have any tips or advice for any of us, for me as well, because I still get nervous, but every time you do it, you get more practice and you do feel more comfortable, so that's a good thing. I love you guys so much, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!